All right, guys, our video today is on fractions and percents. If we're going from a fraction to a percent, again, I want to continue to re-emphasize that you know that a percent is based on per hundred, okay? So that's very important that you continue to remember that. So today, there are two ways if we go from a fraction to percent. One of them is an easy way, but it doesn't always work. So I'm gonna focus on that one first because it is the easy way. So let's look at these rules and then we'll do some examples. So the first one says, this is the first way, so you're gonna go ahead and write these down in your notes. You want to find an equivalent fraction with 100 as the denominator. Remember, because percent is based on 100, that's why I want 100 as my denominator. Then, once you have the denominator of 100, your numerator is simply going to be your percent because it's over 100 or it's out of 100. All right, so write that down and let's do some examples and see if you can kind of understand what I'm talking about here. So if I have 2/5, can I get a denominator of 100? Well, 5 times 20. So if I multiply the top by 20, I get 40. So 40 out of 100, that's just 40%. Okay, so that's what I mean by getting a denominator of 100. Once I have that denominator of 100, my top number or my numerator is simply my percent. Let's do another example. All right, 7/10, I can get a denominator of 100 because 10 times 10 is 100. So I multiply the top by 10. That gives me 70. So 70 over 100, or 70 out of 100, is simply 70%. All right, here's one more, 18 over 20. Of course, I can get a denominator of 100 because 20 times 5 is 100. So if I multiply the top by 5, that gives me 90. So 90 out of 100 is 90%. And one more example. If I get, let's see, 100 is my denominator, and 25 times 4, so if I multiply the top by 4, that becomes 52. So 52 out of 100 is simply 52%. All right, like I said, this is the easy way. So go ahead and write down the rules if you have not already, and pick a couple of these examples to write down. Pause the video, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you some problems for you to do on your own. All right, let's actually move on to the second way before I give you some to work on your own. Here's the second way that always works, but sometimes it's a little bit more in-depth. So to go from a fraction to a percent, I can divide the numerator by the denominator to get a decimal. Once I have a decimal, then I simply change that decimal to a percent. And we just did that in the last video, which means once I have a decimal to a percent, I simply move my decimal 2 places to the right. All right, let's do an example so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about here. All right, so 1/8. Again, the other way was to get a denominator of 100. Unfortunately, 8 times nothing gives me 100, so I cannot do it that way. Okay, so I have to do it a little bit the long way here. So I'm going to divide. So, okay, 8 goes into 10 one time. There's 2 left over. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 8 goes into 40 5 times. And that is my decimal. So once I have my decimal, I now want to change my decimal to percent. So I'm going to move it 2 places to the right. So I'll move this decimal 2 places to the right, and it becomes 12.5%. Okay, let's do another example. Again, unfortunately, I cannot get a denominator of 100 because 40 times nothing gives me 100. So I can't use that method. So I'm going to have to divide. How many 40s goes into 90? 2. That's 80. Bring down 0. 80, 40 goes into 100 twice. That's 80. 20 left over. Bring down another 0. And 40 goes into 205 times. So now I'm finished. Bring that decimal straight up. So now I have my decimal. I'm going to move it to a percent by moving it 2 places. Move it 2 places, and it becomes 22.5%. And my last one, 6 goes into 10 one time. Goes into 46 times. I keep bringing down the 0. Goes into 40, ooh, 6 times again. And that's 36. Ooh, see how I continue to get remainder 4, which becomes 36? So I can stop now, and this is a repeating decimal. So it's 0.16 repeating. So as a percent, I'm going to move my decimal 2 places, but I'm going to round my percent to 17%. If I move it over 2 places, this is enough to bump that up to 17%. If you by chance wrote 16.6%, I would have taken that as well. If you wanted to be a little bit more accurate and put that extra 0.6, or actually it would have been 16.7%, I would have taken that. Okay, so do you see that 1.8 is equivalent to 0.125, which equals 12.5%. Okay. All right, so I want you to go ahead and, if you have not already, write down the notes. Pick 2 of these examples to write down. And then next you have 4 problems at the bottom of your page there that you need to do. So go ahead and pause the video, and then I will give you the ones I want you to work on. All right, so here are your 4. These are on your notes page. I want you to work on these, and I'm going to be looking for these. Once you get these correct, then you can move on to going from a percent to a fraction. All right, so now last part of this one, a percent to a fraction, is much easier. So you're simply going to, because a percent again is based on 100, you simply put that percent over 100 and simplify. Couldn't be easier, really. Okay, so here are my examples. So you're going to write down these rules. It's only one rule. Put it percent over 100 and simplify. So 55% simply means 55 out of 100. But then I need to simplify it. So divide by 5, and I get 11 over 20. 36% means 36 out of 100. I'm going to divide by 4, and I get 9/25. And 126, it's still a percent, so it's still out of 100, even though this is 3 digits. So look, this is an improper fraction. So when I simplify it, it's improper. So I'm going to have a whole, because 100 goes into 126 one time. There's 26 out of 100 left. But now this needs to be simplified. So that equals, I'm going to divide by 2, and I get 13/50. So 126% is the same thing as 1 and 13/50. All right, so go ahead and pause that video if you need to. Write down your rules and some of these examples. All right, so here are your 4 problems that you need to work on. Once you finish these 4 problems, I'm going to check over both sets, and if you get them correct, then you may move on to worksheet 4. All right, have a great day. If you have any problems with these concepts, please let me know.